Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a close look at something pretty intense, a scenario most of us really only see in movies.
Right.
What happens when a jet aircraft gets into serious trouble way up there, and how do pilots actually manage to pull it back from the brink?
It's a fascinating and critical area.
Our source for this is Captain Ashutosh Chopra's The Commercial Pilot's Handbook, specifically Chapter-14, which is all about jet upset recovery.
A really solid source for this.
So our mission today is to break down what a jet upset actually is, explore some of the, surprising causes, and most importantly, dig into those critical split-second actions pilots have to take to recover.
And it's intense stuff.
Definitely. And while it's aviation focused, I think the principles here, quick decisions, understanding complex systems under pressure, managing extreme stress, they're valuable everywhere.
Absolutely. A jet upset, it isn't just a bit of turbulence, a bumpy ride.
No.
It's a serious unintentional deviation from normal flight. It pushes the aircraft, and definitely the crew, right to their limits. It's a real test of skill, knowledge, discipline. Every single second counts.
So, let's start with a clear definition for everyone listening. When Captain Chopra talks about a jet upset, what are the official parameters? What exactly defines this extreme situation?
Okay, so according to the handbook, an aircraft is officially in an upset if it unintentionally pitches up nose high 25 degrees or more.
25 degrees, okay.
Or, the other way, a nose down pitch of 10 degrees or more.
10 down?
Also, if it banks, tilts sideways, 45 degrees or more.
45 degrees bank. Wow.
And here's a key point. Even if it's within those limits, it's still considered an upset if the airspeed is inappropriate for this situation.
Meaning too fast, too slow?
Exactly. Too fast or too slow for the current attitude and configuration. And this definition is actually pretty consistent across most aircraft types, which really helps with training.
That's incredibly precise. It sounds like there's a very clear line between, a bit shaky and, okay, this is serious trouble.
There is. It's a defined state.
But what actually causes an aircraft to get into that kind of state? I mean, it can't just be one thing, right?
No, you're right. It's definitely multifaceted. Captain Chopra breaks it down into a few main categories. First, you've got external factors.
Like weather.
Primarily, yes. Severe turbulence, wind shear. But also, and this might surprise some, the wake turbulence from other aircraft.
Ah, the invisible vortex left behind.
Exactly. Hitting that unexpectedly can really jolt you. Then second, you have aircraft malfunctions.
Things breaking.
Sort of. Issues with control surfaces, flaps, ailerons, rudders, or sometimes the automation system's acting up, doing something unexpected.
Okay.
And finally, and this is a big one, air crew actions themselves.
The pilots. How?
It could be gross mishandling of the controls, maybe inadvertently disconnecting the autopilot at high altitude and then not handling the transition well.
Right.
Or even something like a poorly executed go-around maneuver, especially if visibility's bad. Pushing the throttles full forward at the wrong moment or with the wrong inputs.
So it could be the environment, the machine, or, human factors. But whatever the cause, the core challenge is recovery.
That's it.
And speaking of that human element, the handbook talks a lot about the startle factor and sensory disorientation. Okay, let's unpack this. What really stands between a pilot and recovering from an upset?
Often it's the pilot's own immediate reaction, physiological and psychological. Sensory disorientation is huge.
Your body lying to you.
Pretty much. Captain Chopra points out that nearly all unrecovered upsets happened when pilots didn't have outside visual references. Flying in clouds or at night. Your inner ear, your sense of gravity, it just can't tell which way is up reliably.
I can imagine.
Then you add the startle factor, that initial instinctive shock. It delays recognition, it delays the correct response.
That makes perfect sense. An unexpected violent jolt would make anyone freeze for a second, maybe flinch.
Exactly. And the handbook highlights something interesting here. Boredom, fatigue, even being preoccupied with, say, paperwork during long, smooth flights.
Complacency.
Sort of, yeah. It can subtly erode your situational awareness. So when something does happen unexpectedly, like hitting that wake turbulence from a plane you didn't even register crossing your path.
Damn, the startle hits harder.
Much harder. That's why things like high flight deck discipline, sticking to your assigned roles, pilot flying, pilot monitoring, and good crew resource management, CRM, are so vital. They keep that awareness sharp, reducing the startle potential.
So the old saying applies, complacency kills.
Captain Chopra essentially notes that upsets are often preceded by the pilot flying being distracted, not fully focused on actually flying the aircraft. Murphy's Law in action.
Okay, so that's almost counterintuitive, isn't it? Panic sets in, the instinct is react, maybe thrash around, not pause. Given all that, how do pilots fight through the chaos? How do they regain control?
It really boils down to discipline and trust. Overriding those primal instincts. First, rigorous training hammers home. Trust your instruments, period. Even when your body is screaming something different.
Believe the gauges, not your gut feeling.
Precisely. Second, there's a rapid mental checklist. A spatial orientation process they drill constantly. The pilot has to quickly figure out which way is the sky, where's the horizon on my attitude indicator, what's my pitch, my bank, my speed, and is it increasing or decreasing? Thrust setting. And crucially, how much altitude do I have to work with?
All in seconds.
Milliseconds, really. And it's not just internal, they verbalize it. The pilot flying immediately calls out what they see, like nose high, banked right, altitude increasing, speed reducing.
And the other pilot.
The pilot monitoring confirms or corrects, confirm nose high, banked right, or negative nose low, banked left. That immediate feedback loop is critical to make sure they're seeing the picture correctly.
Wow.
And here's something fascinating from simulator studies. The biggest orientation errors often happen in really extreme nose-down situations or really steep banks, over 120 degrees.
When the instruments might look confusing.
Exactly. The displays can become counterintuitive. But the pilots who recovered successfully, they didn't just react with a knee-jerk. They consistently took one additional second to fully orient themselves before making a control input. Just 1 second, one deliberate second of accurate assessment. It made all the difference, preventing incorrect initial actions.
That's incredible. That 1 extra second of clarity, it really makes you think about how we react when we're suddenly overwhelmed, doesn't it? That pause to really see the situation before jumping in. Okay, so once they're oriented, Captain Chopra lays out a 5-part recovery process. It's sort of a generic framework, right? Even if the specific moves vary.
Yes, a very clear strategic approach. He outlines it as 1, avoiding the startle factor that's prevention, really fundamental.
You heard that.
2, timely intervention. 3, rapid spatial orientation, which we just discussed. That's the crucial next step.
Got it.
4, recovery by deliberate actions. And 5, preventing things from cascading, stopping follow-on problems or structural damage.
Okay, we've hit startle and orientation. Let's zoom in on timely intervention and recovery by deliberate actions. What does timely intervention really mean here?
It means the pilot flying takes immediate action to stop the upset getting worse. Right now.
No delay.
No delay. And the pilot monitoring is key here too. Actively watching. Calling out if they see an upset developing or the flight path deviating. And critically, this is non-negotiable. If the pilot flying can't react quickly, maybe they're disoriented or startled,
yes,
the pilot monitoring must take the controls, announcing clearly, I have control.
Why would a pilot not react quickly, though, if the plane's clearly in trouble?
It seems counterintuitive, I know. But Chopra lists reasons. Sometimes it's, believe it or not, concern about passenger comfort, not wanting to make large, abrupt control inputs, even if necessary.
Yeah.
Or making incorrect inputs, maybe trying to stop losing altitude instead of correcting the actual flight path attitude first. Anxiety about deviating from ATC instructions can play a role, or just a lack of confidence in flying manually, especially after hours on autopilot, or even not fully understanding how bad the upset could get.
So awareness is key again.
Absolutely. Timely intervention is only possible with high situational awareness. You have to know what's happening to react correctly and quickly.
Got it. So, intervention happens, then the recovery continues, and the absolute first step in that recovery is getting unstalled.
Precisely. Whatever the attitude, nose high, nose low, banked first things first. Disconnect autopilot and autothrottle. Then determine, is the aircraft stalled?
Because a stall itself is an upset.
By definition, yes. An unintentional stall where the wings lose lift because the angle of attack is too high is an upset. If it's stalled, you must recover from the stall first, primarily by reducing that angle of attack. But general upset recovery, beyond just the stall, is more dynamic. It's not just about angle of attack. You're managing everything, all the control surfaces, thrust, drag, in a coordinated way.
More complex.
Much more. And it requires flexibility. Pilots have to use their knowledge, experience, judgment to adapt. Not every step in the book is always needed. Chopra gives an example from the B737 manual.
Yeah.
For nose-high recovery, it suggests reducing thrust. But if the nose is already coming down nicely with just control inputs, maybe you don't reduce thrust. You need to increase it as you approach level flight to keep speed up.
Adapting on the fly.
Exactly. And all through this, the pilot monitoring is crucial. They're constantly watching the pilot flying's actions, calling out if anything's missed, giving continuous updates, attitude improving, airspeed increasing, altitude 32,000 feet, keeping the pilot flying oriented, and tracking progress.
That teamwork sounds vital. Okay, now this is where it gets really interesting for me. The general principles are there, but the specific techniques change drastically depending on if you're nose high or nose low.
Huge difference.
And small variations in what you do can have massive consequences. Let's start with nose high recovery.
Okay, nose high. The main goal is break that upward pitch, get the nose down towards the horizon, and crucially, prevent a stall if you're getting slow.
How?
Generally push the control column forward, apply nose down elevator. You might use stabilizer trim to help, but carefully, too much trim can make things worse, lead to over-controlling.
And thrust, you mentioned that earlier.
Right, thrust management is key. If the nose is way up there, say 35, 40 degrees, and it's not responding well to the controls, reducing thrust can actually help pitch the nose down.
Less power pushing it up.
Exactly. But if the nose is coming down okay with just the controls, you might leave the thrust alone. Simplifies things. And as you approach the horizon, you'll likely need to smoothly add thrust back in to prevent getting too slow.
What about banking? Rolling the aircraft?
Good question. If the nose is coming down well, you generally just maintain whatever bank angle you have.
Mm-hmm.
But if the nose was very high, and maybe your speed is very low, you might actually need to increase the bank. Deliberately roll to maybe 45, even up to 60 degrees.
Why would you do that? Seems like making things more complicated.
It sounds counterintuitive, but it uses the aircraft's natural stability. Increasing bank helps develop a bit of side slip, which lets the nose fall downwards more easily. It also changes the thrust vector. Instead of pushing purely upwards, some of that thrust energy goes into turning, which helps arrest the pitch up.
Ah, clever physics.
But crucially, don't exceed 60 degrees bank in this situation.
Right.
And rudder. Very careful use. A tiny bit might help initiate a roll if speed is super low.
Yeah.
But large or aggressive rudder inputs are extremely dangerous, potential structural failure, loss of control.
Got it.
So as the nose comes down, you're watching that speed, watching the pitch limit indicator, the PLI, which shows how close you are to stalling.
Mm-hmm.
The aim is to recover smoothly back to level flight without stalling it on the way down.
Okay, that's nose high. Now let's flip it. Nose low recovery. That just sounds terrifying. Steep dive, airspeed, screaming up. What's the protocol there?
It is a critical situation, and the actions have to be very precise, very deliberate. The first move for nose low is generally to roll the aircraft wings level, or close to level.
Shortest direction to the horizon.
Shortest direction, yes. Get that lift vector pointing mostly up again as quickly as possible. But deliberately. Remember, high altitude means less roll damping.
Right, the thinner air thing. Easier to over-control.
Exactly. Now here's a really critical point. If the bank angle is extreme, say over 135 degrees, so you're significantly past inverted.
Upside down and then some.
Right. Before you even try to roll level, you need to unload the aircraft.
Unload.
Apply forward pressure on the control column. Push. This reduces the angle of attack, makes the wings less loaded, momentarily lighter. It significantly improves the effectiveness of the roll controls.
So push forward first, then roll level. That feels wrong, instinctively.
It feels completely wrong, but it's absolutely vital in extreme attitudes. And the sequence is critical. Roll, then pitch. They must be separate, delinked actions.
Why? Why not just roll and pull up at the same time? Seems faster.
Because physics will bite you hard. Captain Chopra explains, if you roll and pitch up simultaneously at high speeds or high altitudes, you get dangerous coupling effects.
Coupling.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Roll coupling, due to gyroscopic effects from the engines and the aircraft's inertia, causes the aircraft to yaw to swing sideways rapidly in the direction you're rolling.
Okay.
Combine that yaw with swept-back wings. The wing that's leading into the yaw suddenly generates way more lift. This dramatically increases the roll rate in the same direction.
So you roll even faster than you intended.
Much faster. Potentially uncontrollably faster. He mentions a simulator anecdote. Pilots trying to combine the actions sometimes ended up doing 2 full 360-degree rolls before they could regain control.
Wow. 2 full rolls just from combining those inputs. That's staggering.
It shows how critical that sequence roll first, then pitch really is, especially up high where there's less natural damping.
Okay. So unload if needed, roll deliberately wings level, then pitch up.
Then you gently pitch up towards the horizon. But again, carefully. You have to manage the G-load. Pulling back too hard can overstress the airframe.
Right, the 2.5 Gs limit you mentioned.
Typically around there for transport jets. And without a G-meter giving you a precise reading, pilots have to rely on the seat-of-the-pants feel. It's very easy to exceed structural limits if you just yank back.
And simulators don't always replicate that G-force feel accurately.
Often they can't sustain it, no, which can lead to negative training. Pilots might get used to pulling harder in the sim than is safe in the real aircraft.
What about speed and stalling in a nose-low recovery? Seems like you'd be going really fast.
You are. Speed increases incredibly rapidly in a steep dive. You absolutely have to manage it. Pull the thrust levers back to idle.
Okay.
You're watching for VNE-VMO, the maximum safe speeds. Exceeding those can cause structural failure. Speed brakes, those panels that pop up on the wings, might be absolutely essential to slow down enough for a safe recovery. Sometimes, without them, recovery isn't possible.
And stalling. Can you stall even when pointing down?
Yes, absolutely. Remember, stalling is about angle of attack, not just attitude. If you pitch up very aggressively, even from a dive, you can increase that angle of attack so rapidly that the wings stall even while the aircraft is still moving downwards fast.
So you still need to watch that PLI, the pitch limit indicator.
Constantly. Manage the pitch rate, manage the speed, manage the G-load, watch the angle of attack. It's a very dynamic, high-stakes balancing act.
So we've gone through this incredibly intense scenario. What does this all mean for us, even if we're not flying jets? What are the big takeaways?
Well, what's fascinating is how universal some of these lessons are.
Mm-hmm.
First, the absolute need for foundational knowledge. For pilots, it's aerodynamics, systems. For us, it's truly understanding the fundamentals of whatever system we work in.
Knowing your stuff.
Deeply. Second, the vital role of continuous training and practice. Captain Chopra mentions armchair flying, visualization.
Mental rehearsal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thinking through scenarios to reduce that startle factor. Imagine how visualizing a tough presentation or difficult conversation could reduce your startle factor when unexpected questions come up.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Then there's the huge impact of human factors, situational awareness, discipline, consciously avoiding those knee-jerk reactions under pressure, taking that extra second to orient.
That pause.
That critical pause. And finally, the power of breaking down complex, overwhelming problems into manageable sequential steps. Just like unload, then roll, then pitch, having a clear, structured approach to a crisis in our own lives or work can make all the difference.
It really hammers home how critical, clear thinking, solid knowledge, and disciplined action are in extreme situations. It leaves me thinking, when you face unexpected turbulence in your own life, how might embracing that pilot's mantra, orientate, disconnect, unstall, recover, how might that reshape your own approach?
It's a powerful thought.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the really quite gripping world of jet upset recovery. For more information about our show and the source material, you can find everything on our website.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep diving deep.